For over 2 decades, Audrey Crews lived in a body that didn't follow her will. She was fully conscious, fully present, but disconnected from the physical world in ways that most of us can't begin to imagine. Her limbs no longer moved. Her independence became a memory. And the simplest acts, reaching, typing, navigating a screen, had turned into long processes of waiting, depending, translating intention through layers of assistance. Her voice still existed. But expression wasn't instant anymore. It came through systems, pauses, fatigue, pieces of herself filtered through machines designed to help, but never to restore. Then came a chip. Not a cure, not magic, but something quieter, a bridge between her brain and the machine. A small signal, barely detectable, transformed into movement. A cursor on a screen, a letter, then another, until finally, her name. Audrey, written by her, through her, with her, but without hands, without typing, without sound, just thought. In that moment, she wasn't just another human trial subject. She was the first woman to send a piece of her mind directly into a machine and watch it respond. It started with a name, but what came next was never just about her. No one dreams of being the first in something like this. There are no childhood fantasies about becoming the subject of a brain implant trial. But history rarely asks for volunteers. Sometimes it simply chooses someone who has nothing left to lose and everything left to say. Audrey has lived with paralysis for more than 20 years, a silent condition that doesn't take your mind, but takes everything else. Movement, spontaneity, dignity, all placed behind a wall that only technology could one day hope to crack. She agreed to something most people would never even consider, allowing a company, one led by one of the most controversial figures in tech, to surgically place a computer into her brain. For most of the world, she became the first woman in Neuralink's human trials. For the public, she became something else entirely. A face, a symbol, a quiet proof of what happens when suffering meets science, and says yes. But here's the thing. Firsts are never just personal. They're political. They're philosophical. They're always bigger than the person carrying them. Because being the first isn't just about what happens to you. It's about what your story unlocks for everyone else. From the outside, Neuralink has always felt like science fiction, trying to break into reality. Not because of what it does, but because of what it promises. Freedom, restoration, even transcendence. It taps into something primal. The desire to overcome our own biology, to fix what's broken, to surpass the body, to prove that the mind, the self, can live above flesh, wires, and bone. That's what made Audrey's video go viral. Not the technical achievement, but the emotional resonance. We weren't watching software work. We were watching a woman reclaim a fragment of agency with nothing but her thoughts. But make no mistake, Neuralink isn't just a medical company. It's a brand built on mythology, one that Elon Musk has carefully shaped over the years. In his version of the future, merging with machines isn't a question of if, but when. The brain chip isn't a product, it's protection. From obsolescence, from disease, even from AI itself. So when Neuralink shows Audrey moving a cursor with her mind, it's not just a clinical milestone, it's a message. It says, this is coming, this works, and this is who you'll trust when your turn comes. Being first is never clean. It looks heroic from a distance. But up close, it's quiet, uncertain, lonely. Audrey didn't step into a future designed for comfort. She stepped into one still being written, one where the consequences aren't fully known, and where the hopes of an entire company, maybe an entire ideology, now orbit around her brain. She smiles on camera, she types a few letters. She becomes a headline. But behind that smile, there's a reality that doesn't fit into press releases. Her brain is now an interface. Her thoughts, signals, her medical journey, a prototype. There are no control groups in moments like this. No rewinds, no second chances. Just a woman, a machine, and a world watching with equal parts awe and denial. When people look at Audrey, they see a trial, a medical test, a woman volunteering for something experimental. But that's only one layer of the story. Because while her brain is connected to a chip, something else is happening outside the lab. Quietly, culturally, invisibly. We're being tested too, not for how well the technology works, but for how easily we accept it. How fast we adjust to the idea of machines listening in. How willing we are to trade privacy for progress, even if the trade isn't ours to make. Neuralink isn't just seeing if the chip functions, it's watching how the world reacts to it. It's studying headlines, analyzing sentiment, measuring the distance between awe and apathy. Because when Audrey moves a cursor with her thoughts, it's not just her nervous system that's under observation, it's ours. We're being conditioned, gently, efficiently, to see this as inevitable. To stop asking if we want it and start assuming that we will. And maybe that's the real experiment. There's something significant about the fact that Audrey Crews, the first woman to publicly receive a Neuralink chip, has become the face of this story. Not because her gender makes the achievement more emotional or the technology more impressive, but because it reflects how representation works in emerging technologies. Who gets to be first often shapes how the world understands what comes next. In breakthrough medical technologies, the early adopters become more than patients. They become symbols. Their faces, their stories, their outcomes influence public perception for years to come. Audrey didn't sign up to represent all women in neurotechnology, but her presence in this narrative, her visibility, her courage, her willingness to cross unprecedented boundaries, creates a powerful precedent. She's showing the world that the future of human-machine integration isn't just a concept for tomorrow. It's happening now, to real people, starting with her. And when that story is told through a woman's experience first, it changes something fundamental about how we imagine this technology's place in our lives. When people talk about Audrey, the word choice comes up often. She chose the chip. She chose the surgery. She chose to be part of the future, and she did choose powerfully, decisively, rationally. But her choice also illuminates something uncomfortable about how innovation works. When traditional systems fail to provide dignity and access, radical technology begins to look like salvation. When your daily reality is constrained by barriers that shouldn't exist, saying yes to the experimental isn't desperation. It's hope with a different toolkit. Audrey's decision wasn't just brave, it was strategic. She saw an opportunity to reclaim agency in a world that had systematically limited hers. But her choice also raises questions about the world that made such a choice necessary. Are we celebrating breakthrough technology? Or quietly accepting that breakthrough technology had to exist because we failed to build a more accessible world in the first place? The answer matters, because it shapes what we expect from the future Audrey is helping to create. Not long ago, the idea of a chip in the human brain would have felt dystopian. But when Audrey appeared, smiling slightly, guiding a cursor with nothing but her thoughts, it felt surprisingly normal. That's how the next shift always comes, not with resistance, but with quiet applause. Not by forcing itself on us, but by becoming the background of everything else. The more we see images like Audrey's, a brain linked to a machine, a thought turned into action, the less strange they become. Eventually, we don't just accept them, we expect them. What was once unimaginable becomes inevitable. And when that happens, the future no longer knocks. It just walks in, Audrey Crews didn't invent this future. She didn't design the chip or write the code that now listens to her brain. But her story is the one we'll remember. Not because she wanted to be remembered, but because she said yes when most of us wouldn't have known what to say. She represents what technology promises: access, autonomy, freedom. But she also reveals what it quietly demands: trust, vulnerability, and a willingness to cross lines that, until now, felt untouchable. Audrey moved a cursor with her mind. She typed her name. And in doing so, she opened a door that can't be closed. Now the chip is in. The experiment is live. The data is flowing. And somewhere inside all of this, between signal and silence, a new kind of relationship is forming. Not between patient and doctor, but between thought and machine, and eventually, between all of us, and the systems that say they can hear us think. Audrey chose to be first. She chose to cross that line. So the question isn't whether Neuralink is the future. The real question is, when that future arrives for you, will it still feel like a choice? Or will it feel like the only option left? What do you think? Are we heading toward a world where brain chips become inevitable? Or can we shape this technology to truly serve human freedom? I genuinely want to hear your perspective on this. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story made you think differently about the future we're building, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the technologies that are quietly reshaping what it means to be human. Because stories like Audrey's, they're just the beginning.